MasterPeace is not using the same kind of run-of-the-mill processes that others, and that's why you can get the results that you get with the particle range size and maybe other things too.
Which is everything. Yeah, totally. Yeah, what you're describing, I'll try to describe in 2 minutes here. So the standard company that has a fulfillment center make the product, dispense the product, and get it ready where they just ship it out to whoever ships it for the company. They take one size zeolite, they grind it and mill it or not, and then from there, they either ultrasonicate, homogenize it, or they dissolve it in an acid. Very few fulfillment centers want to deal with a nanotechnology equipment that is expensive and is as fragile as an ultrasonicating homogenizer. So what you typically see is a company that dissolves it down to it, and then they have a way of, they say there's preservatives such as potassium sorbate and ascorbic acid as their normal ones, but those are things that are really meant to raise the pH from the acid that's used to dissolve it up to a safe level. Now, what we knew that process the very first day we got the answers back from the lab when they replicated what the analysis that they got from reverse engineering Root Brand's Clean Slate, Touchstone Essentials PBX, as well as at the time Zoe Global's Clear Drops. And what fulfillment centers will not do is take a third of one size zeolite and 2/3 of a size of another zeolite, grind it and mill it or not, and then dissolve it down at a specific time where every 4 or 5 hours you got to pour a little bit more in, because if you pour all the zeolite in at once, zeolite is heavy. It is heavy rock. It will bog down the magnet, and the magnet won't be able to spin it and flush the stuff and get it to dissolve down. So you have to feather it in. It's touchy-feely. If you screw up and put too much zeolite in at once, it will stop the magnet, in which case you can't get it to spin anymore, and you have to start all over with the batch, and which I've done several times. So these are processes that a fulfillment center won't do, and then you got to take it from there. Well, with MasterPeace does, and we take a portion of that batch, and then we ultrasonicate, homogenize that down for a very specific short amount of time so that our particle range, instead of what every company has out there, some of these, I'm not making any judgments. Touchstone has a product where they have a very close range of like 1 to 5 nanometers of zeolite. The only way that is possible is if you're ultrasonicating, homogenizing, grinded and milled zeolite. The bit, the titanium bit that shoots sonic rays to make things down the nano size, you can't use with big rocks. It'll destroy the bit. The bit is very sensitive. So you have to already grind it and mill it down. Now, that's them. With other companies that have a range that's like 0 nanometers to 100 nanometers, those are companies, the only way to get that range is if you dissolve it. What we are doing at MasterPeace, in order to get a 0 nanometer to 300 nanometer range, is we are doing a whole mixture of grinding and milling down some of the product, which it's already grinded and milled down and ready for us to go forever. But then we have to dissolve it and ultrasonicate it, homogenize it. And it takes many times of doing it, looking at the analysis that we got from Kansas State University, going back, doing a different percentage of this size zeolite to this size zeolite, dissolving for this amount of time or that amount of time, and then homogenizing this percentage of particles or zeolite particles compared to that. And we did that. We did that for many months. We took what everybody else was doing out there with their formula process. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to go over it. Trying to keep it as easy as I can explain it, because I've never had to try to explain this before to someone who's never seen it. But what we've done is made a finely tuned process that is allowing the zeolite to be at every single size that can go to the deepest recesses of the body. and we have a lot more zeolite in the formula and a lot more minerals. And that's why, with us being new, most of the people that so far have used MasterPeace have actually heard of zeolites for years. They've been using different forms of zeolites for years and experiencing whatever results they have from those zeolites for years. And they have a pretty good feel as to what they do. But when they take MasterPeace, they get this whole nother level of benefits or upgrades or feeling better. And so they know that there's more to it, that this is a finely tuned process.
So I have a question. So are you, as well as the other companies, they're getting the zeolites that are already ground and milled? Is that what I heard you say?
No.
No.
I would probably say most of them are getting them directly from the mine, and then they're having them grinded and milled before they proceed with the rest of the formulation process. They buy it in bigger rocks, and they got to get it grinded and milled with 2 diamond-coated bits that turn like this. Yeah, and get it down to the micrometer range.
And that's pretty standard, the way
Absolutely.
they do that. You get it that way too. That's just a kind of a standard process. Okay.
Totally.
All right. Because maybe some people are versed in zeolites, and maybe they're watching from other companies. And I just want to make sure we are hitting all target markets here. And
there's
our
a
audience
lot
might
of
be
misinformation out there on the exact way that the process of getting zeolite down to a nanometer size and if it releases metals or not and everything about it. Yes, totally.
Yeah, I just started doing some reading on that too. I know there's a synthetic one, and they purport that TRS purports that the aluminum that's part of the zeolite molecule with silica can be released, and that's their whole shtick over there. Is they lab grow theirs.
I don't have another beaker, which is the flat. I don't have my old style beakers. Okay, do you see how this is rounded?
Yeah.
Okay, so they have all different styles of beakers, which have different style openings, okay? Now, whenever you're going to, hold on. This is a magnetic stirring tray. You see how old it looks? It's because it's been worn and torn. Okay. So it is a magnet. This is one of the many styles of beakers. This is a more expensive style beaker than what you would see at a fulfillment center, okay? It is thicker glass. It has a wider tube so I can keep it covered, because when you're using acids that if you breathe them in, these are acids that are so strong you can't really be able to whiff them in at all. So if you see this magnet,
yeah,
this is a magnet. There's different sizes of magnets. You see how the magnet now is stuck right here? So no matter how I turn it, it stays right there. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want you to imagine a solution in that, where what we have to do when you have zeolite is a very hard rock. It's lava. It takes over a day of dissolving a small pebble with the strongest acid that you have to buy commercially. It's not something you can buy at Home Depot or just off of the internet. You have to literally have you have to have a license number to get the purest hydrochloric or phosphoric or hydrofluoric acid that you use. Now, when you are dissolving it down, the magnet turns and the zeolite is very heavy. You can only put so much zeolite compared to how much solution that you're dissolving it down in. That's one of the 4 processes that is done when you're making a nano zeolite formula. When you're making a nano zeolite formula, you're trying to get something down to a nanometer size. You start off with it being in the millimeter or the micrometer size. You have to grind it and mill it with diamond bits to get it down to a micron. Then you have to dissolve it down with that, what I just showed you. And from there, you even have to ultrasonicate, homogenize it. In a fulfillment center, where most of these products are made, You can't train someone to baby the processes so that you can get it down to this perfect particle size range. I've used different magnets, different beakers. I have gone with what the best lab in America has told me. I've also talked with him later and said, hey, look, I'm the one making it. We're not going to give this to a fulfillment center. Michael Coe, what else can we do here? And he tells me, man, if this was in my basement, this is what I would do. And I've gone back and forth, round and round, and came up with a new way where I can keep putting in the zeolite without adding in any more acid. And what ends up happening when you fulfill the whole process is we're getting like 10 times to 30 times more zeolite than anybody out there. I don't care who you are, whoever they are, whatever owners are listening to this, whatever formulators are listening to this, they could never talk about getting 1,000 micrograms of zeolite into a serving of their formula. They would think it's not possible because, again, they gave their formula over to a fulfillment center, and that's where that was at. I'm still plugging away. I'm still making it. I'm still looking at it, refining it. And it takes every little piece of equipment, and it keeps every little step is under my scrutiny, and I'm only trying to make it more powerful and effective for people. And everything about MasterPeace is that great. We're gonna keep building this thing up. We're gonna keep drawing in the people who have really been waiting for something that they can invest their time and energy to, and none of that's going to stop. We're going to keep. We're just all going to propel and catapult even stronger into what we all got to do. You know, we're all experiencing benefits from MasterPeace that we haven't been able to get from somewhere else.